What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I'm Bobby Fi. I'm here doing the QL TV show for QL We're going to be talking some BetQL, some RotoQL, the DFS slate, and we're going to break down this whole NBA slate, both from a sports betting and DFS perspective. So feel free to say hello when you jump on in, throw in your QQs, and let's get into it, man. This is an exciting slate. I took a couple days off on the weekend, so it felt really nice because I had to sort of catch up after a wedding and everything. And then, just trying to keep up. And last week was not my best week. I did well sports betting, but not betting, not DFS wise. So ready to get back at it again tonight. Starting right off the bat, I want to mention a few things about BetQL. We launched a new pricing structure to take advantage of. So go to betql.co and enter code BobbyFi to get your first 30% off your first month. Once again, that's betql.co, code BobbyFi, get 30% off your first month. The pricing structures are much, much more affordable now and absolutely worth it. It's worth noting that the BetQL model is now 27-12 on 3, 4, and 5-star spreads over the last 14 days. For context, if you wagered $100 on that, you would be up $1,258. It's been phenomenal. Let's take advantage of it while you can. BetQL.co, code BobbyFi. Let's get into it. Going to talk some DFS in a minute. I'm going to talk some trends. Going to talk some things we noticed, some sports bets that we like. The first thing we have to show is we've got our one free giveaway game of the day. And today it's an interesting one. It's the Rockets and the Knicks. You can see there's not an incredible amount of conviction it's a 2-star game. The optimizer we have at BetQL here says the game should be an 11-point spread. Basically, it's a 10-point spread. So you're taking advantage of it, getting that extra point. It's a 2-star bet. I like the bet fine. I'm not a huge fan of betting on double-digit spreads during the season because there's just so many three-pointers. I've talked about this at length, especially against teams at home. But Houston should stomp all over New York here tonight. Houston is now 12-1 with Westbrook since they made the switch over. Westbrook has been about the best player in the NBA, not named Giannis, since then. So, I just want to throw in a few things. I think it's a really good bet. I would take the Rockets -10, but I don't feel like as great about it. So probably if I was forced to bet, that's what I would take. But that's just sort of where I'm at. Going to mention a few other things, like just to see where the public's at on this. All you have to do is real easy. Go up here, click public betting. And we're going to get right here, you can see 66% of the public bets on the Rockets. We're going to expect to see something similar from the sharp bets. It just seems too odd that they wouldn't go that way as well. Yeah, you've got the Rockets at 16% with the sharp edge. I agree with it. I don't think it's anything mind-blowing to where you have to make that bet, but I do like it. I like it for DFS purposes as well. I'm very interested in both Westbrook and Harden, not together, but just in general. And I think it's worth noting just that what Westbrook has done is really taken over the offense, but I'm sort of waiting for the explosion Harden game. So I thought Harden might not be quite as high owned when you compare the difference, but with Harden's ownership, I'm sort of leaning maybe to going back towards Westbrook, but I will have some Harden as well. So not sure where we're going to end up on that, but I'll show you my lineups in a little bit, and we'll get to all that. I want to say what's up to K9 Bronco. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for saying what's up to QLTV. Abrasive, always good to have you around. You guys, fire up any thoughts, any things you like on this slate, I'll talk about some things that I like. Still focusing on the BetQL portion of this. I'll get into my lineups in just a minute. But I did want to take just a quick glance, just looking through the spreads across the industry. Again, I can't give you the premium access to all these because it wouldn't be right to the people who pay good money. And you should be doing the same. BetQL.co, code BobbyFi. But if you look at these numbers, there's a few games that sort of stand out to me. The Mavericks -6.5 at the Bulls with no Levine. The spread was 5. I would probably be willing to play on the Mavericks up to 7.5. So I actually like that one a little bit. I also think that we're going to get into some trends, so I'll get into some over-unders. But in the meantime, I want to say what's up to the people who are creeping in just now. I know it takes a little while, but feel free to fire your questions in chat and make sure to give us the thumbs up. We're doing this free content, so please make sure to try and give us just a like. It's all we ask. And we ask that you try and participate in the show, too, because we love to hear from you, and we're happy to go with you guys. Anyway, in that free game that we're talking about, we mentioned about the Rockets already. The Rockets, on top of just the straight-out spread, which like we said, we think it should be 11 points, not 10, based on our projection model. The Rockets -565. We have this as a 3-star bet. Our model thinks the money line should be -856. -565 feels pretty safe, but again, it's still a new toying around offense, even though I'm completely on board and I think the Rockets are going to make life miserable for the rest of the NBA. I don't know that I want to get into betting where I'm only getting 20% of my money back on money line bets with a team that still I think has some variance in them, even though I'm impressed with what they've done so far. I do like the under a bit. It's a 1-star bet for us. BetQL 230.5. I probably wouldn't bet on it. If I was going to bet the Rockets to cover, I think I would lean the under. Hope the game sort of blows out. Those tend to lend themselves better to the unders than the overs. But it's a little worrisome because the Rockets definitely will give up some points as well, although they've been the 7th best in defensive efficiency since the trade for Covington. Just wanted to point that out. We're going to bounce around a little bit to some DFS stuff in just a second. In the meantime, I'm going to take a look in chat, see if anybody else has popped in and if there's any questions, any thoughts. K9 Bronco says he feels like the Miami total is way too high. I've been watching it go up my whole life. Miami always goes under 100. All right, it's a lot to give away, so I can't read it all. I mean, not to say, but I can't read it all. But Miami says they always score under 100 points, even with young. I don't know. I would probably avoid the Miami Milwaukee total. Miami's been playing a little bit faster than they used to, and Milwaukee, I'm not going to take that one game yesterday as Charlotte as a normal sign where they scored 93 points. They still won, but I don't think I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to touch the spread, particularly in the Milwaukee game. Although I would agree that if I had to say, hey, does it seem too high or too low? For a Heat game at home, it does seem awfully high. But again, this Bucks team plays a little different than most teams do. It is the second of a back-to-back. Maybe it's a spot worth looking at least. I wish I could give away what the BetQL people say about it, but unfortunately I can't do that on this show. Anyway, JT says happy Monday. Happy Monday, JT. Is Luka great chalk that we can't fade? You can definitely fade him in tournaments because there's so many. I like him, Westbrook, Harden, and Trey. I like Luka the best. He's going to be the highest owned. Do with that what you will. I think we might get enough value to potentially play 2 studs. So that's something worth considering. I've got 3 studs over on FanDuel. Getting Harden in there and then Luka and Giannis is something that I was trying to do early on. And I think I'm going to stick with it for right now at least. Hey, BJ says, keep up the good work. Hey, really appreciate that, man, what we're doing with Sheets. Glad you guys are tuning in. We love the live shows, but what's different about the videos we record, and we get a lot of positive feedback, these live shows that we're doing, not only do you get the BetQL perspective, which, by the way, has been on fire, and, again, you could just blindly make these 3, 4, and 5-star bets, $100 each, and you'd be making a fortune right now. You'd be crushing it. This is a great site. That's a great advantage, but the real advantage is the live interaction and that we're breaking down things in real time. We're going to answer questions. We're going to go back and forth. It's our show. You guys are like my co-hosts. So I want you to look at it like that. And I want you guys to stay like popping back and forth, talk to each other, talk to me. Just, make sure to be interactive and make sure to give us the like and the thumbs up. Keep this stuff going for you guys. Anyway, I'm going to jump into DFS for a little bit. We talked a little bit about our one highlighted game today. I mentioned before, just in case you guys haven't been with the other shows, there's some useful trends down here. Some sort of funny one. Mike D'Antoni is 48-8 versus poor defensive teams. Shooting percentage defense negative equal to less than 46% in the second half this season. I don't know why we don't just say Houston this season. Why Mike D'Antoni at the beginning of it is a little bit tricky. Why don't we just say Houston is that for the season? But they are good trends either way. And sometimes they're valuable, sometimes they're not. They're always interesting. Some of them are incredibly valuable. And we've highlighted some that I'm going to highlight for you guys in a bit. But I'm going to show my lineup in just a minute. Playing a few big lineups on DraftKings today. And I would say they're bound to change. They're 100% going to change. This is just where I'm at for this moment. Some early builds, and I wanted to see this for you guys. I'll give you guys a minute to catch up and maybe make sure it looks like it's showing up right. Let's get it down to there. Okay. So you can see sort of the correlating builds that I tried to make at least a little bit. I played Giannis a Giannis lineup with Bam. I'm obviously not going to play this much Clarkson, but it is a guy who I want to remain in some of my long shot tournaments, potentially maybe my other ones. I've talked about narratives in the past and how they matter sometimes and sometimes they don't. I do think Clarkson is one of those guys who tries to find a narrative wherever he can, and any extra excuse he has to chuck, he will. And he did it. I mean, last year I won a huge tournament by taking him versus D'Angelo Russell, and no one understood what the narrative was. And I mean, if you're a Laker fan, you understood that these guys used to go at it, and sort of was like Clarkson felt like the forgotten one, and then same the other way on D'Angelo. Anyway, the whole thing basically, if you can find a way to try and get a Clarkson at low ownership in a matchup against his old teams, I'm always willing to take that chance at least some of my lineups. Not 63%. It's probably going to be more like 10 to 20%. But I just want to make that point that that's why he's on there as much as he is. The other guys I like, obviously, trying to figure out this Bull situation, sort of using them as placeholders in the meantime. Obviously, Larry Nance makes a lot of sense. I love Kevin Love tonight. I liked all this before Drummond was out. I don't understand the projections. You're going to get them at way low ownership than you should. Luka's my favorite play, but again, it's really, really, there's a lot of guys you can pay up for, and I would like to get myself some Westbrook, some Harden, and all of that. Those are just three early lineup builds. I'm going to leave that on the screen and check out chat with you guys, and you guys can maybe get some questions in or some comments on my lineups. I mean, look, Della Vadova, obviously a reach. These are just rough outlines of things I want to do on the slate later today. Let's see. We've got a few other things. Abrasive says, no Levine makes it hard to see the Bulls stay in it. I don't know if that's entirely true. With Carter back and Porter back to at least 16 to 22 minutes, I could actually argue that this might be even a better lineup for them. But, I mean, Dallas, sure, they can blow out a team on the road, but they're missing Porzingis, and I don't, it's not like they've been just rolling teams on the road all year. I don't know. I'm not going with that look at it myself. I understand how if it was in Dallas maybe and Porzingis was, playing, but this is not, I don't think it's a lock by any means that they win that game that easily. And if they do, that means Luka probably does go nuts, because who else is going to score on that Dallas team? It's going to be spread out in Luka. Can you have DDR, Gay, and Lyles in a GPP cashing lineup on DK, or too much chalk? Don't ever try to play a GPP to cash. Just flat out, don't ever do it. If you're playing GPPs to try and cash, don't play cash games, or don't play at all. That would be my advice. So if the question is, could they all be in a GPP cashing line? I don't understand how to answer that question, because I've never played a GPP to try and cash. And I think if you are, it'd be like playing a poker tournament trying to cash. You're going to be an incredibly losing player if that's what you do. So I would say that if you're going to play cash, you can definitely play all three of those guys in a lineup. I would not play all three of those guys together in a GPP tonight, because I don't like them. But I understand I don't think it's necessarily too many. I think three players from San Antonio could exceed value. It's gross, and there's a lot of pop effect, and you never know what's going to happen. So anyway, K9 Bronco said he's loving RotoQL. The app helped him on Saturday. Look, that's great feedback. We love to hear that over there. I do want to point out one guy who RotoQL is higher on today. This is what I like to do every day. A few guys they're higher on than maybe the rest of the field is. Denzel Valentine, Ante Zizic, and Jonas Valanciunas. I like Valanciunas, but at this ownership, I'm willing to completely take the fade and maybe just play him a little. I'll probably have him in something, don't get me wrong, but overall, my plan is to try and skip Valanciunas at chalk, even though he's a guy I usually play a ton of. Zizic, I'm just not sure that they're going to go that route. I know that he'll play. I just am not sure how many minutes. We've got him projected for a little more over here on RotoQL than we do on some of the other sites. I wish I could give it away to you guys and show it to you, but that's just sort of where it's at. Denzel Valentine's a guy who stands out on RotoQL as well, and I'm not in love with this value, but because I like these studs tonight, I'm sort of trying to find a way to pay up. But then again, I also really like these 7K builds, so it's kind of like trying to make your pick. And then the Kobe White thing, depending on where his ownership is, I can argue both to play him and fade him. I think there's routes where he doesn't get there, but he probably has to miss a lot of shots. I think there's routes where he absolutely crushes and you can't win without him. So it's going to be a really interesting slate. We're going to need to, get some locked up information. Mostly it's going to be starting lineups for what we have now, and I'm sure we can hear about other players being out. But starting lineups is really the thing that we're going to have to focus on for the most part. Also want to mention another guy who just is a little bit higher over here would be Kevin Porter. And I like Kevin Porter tonight, so I wanted to throw him out there. Some of the RotoQL behind the paywall information that I'm giving away for free, but I think that they're okay with it because, like I said, you guys need to know why you need to be on these apps. On this, first of all, download the BetQL app, download the RotoQL app right now for free. There's nothing to pay for. Just get it done. And if you really want to keep making money and just not really have to think about anything, but just have fun sweats, you can go to betql.co, enter code BobbyFi, and basically bet the 3, 4, and 5-star spreads from BetQL, and you will be printing money. So at least as of the season so far, that's where we've been at. A couple other trends that we want to talk about tonight, and I think that they're important for DFS as well as for regular betting, regular straight sports betting. The seven consecutive overs have hit in the Orlando games. So the Magic are playing much faster since the break, especially. So you've seen that as a resulted production from what we've seen so far from Aaron Gordon, and how Vooch actually has been hurt by that in some way. So Vooch is a guy who it gives you an argument to maybe fade him. When games pick up a little bit in pace, he doesn't tend to have as big a games. He's had it in a few spots, but you can look at since the All-Star break, he's been a little bit down for the most part, whereas a guy like Gordon has been on the way up. As far as how it pertains tonight, it's an interesting spot because you have a really high total for their game, considering that it's an Orlando game. But it is the Blazers who can't play defense. They're only 6.5-point favorites, and C.J. McCollum is really hard to fade at this usage rate. I am going to have probably like 40% McCollum as of this moment, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be higher than that. And honestly, on DraftKings, I think it's going to be lower than that, probably more like 20% on DraftKings, and maybe more like 40% on FanDuel, which I will get over to my FanDuel lineups in just a minute. But I want to talk a little bit more about some of the other trends that we've noticed. So another thing about that being an interesting trend in the Orlando situation, Vooch, who's popular, and then you've got McCollum, who's popular, but also we've got guys like Gary Trent, who we would normally ignore against Orlando, but is going to play 32 to 36 minutes. I mean, at 4,200, kind of interesting. It's not like I love the spot for Carmelo. He's probably going to be, I'm probably not going to go there, but it's just a guy worth mentioning. And then on the Orlando side of it, do you want to overpay for Aaron Gordon or maybe get him for less over on FanDuel, which I think is viable? Or do you want to, pay for Vooch? I think that Markelle Fultz is a really good play. They're playing faster and he has something to do with it. He's not my favorite point guard, but he is a point guard that I like quite a bit, and I will get some exposure to him. I'm going to get into my FanDuel lineups in just a minute, but I did think that it's interesting that with those over-unders, the consecutive overs hitting, seems like Vegas caught up with that, but I still wouldn't mind taking the over here. And if I was leaning that way, it certainly makes this game appealing for DFS purposes. I'm not as high on Whiteside in this particular matchup at his price throughout the industry. He's the guy I'm sort of staying away from, but I certainly think everyone else is in play. Fultz, Vucevic, and McCollum being the priorities. One other thing I want to point out, Jazz are now winless against the spread over their last 5 games. They're playing in an interesting one tonight, maybe my favorite DFS stack game. I know it's crazy. It's in Cleveland. They're 9.5-point favorites, the Jazz. You lose Garland, you lose Thompson, you lose Drummond. All of a sudden, no one's going to play Kevin Love still. No one's going to play, at least not on DraftKings, they're not going to play Colin Sexton very much. They're not going to play enough Porter. There's a lot of plays in this game, especially on the Cavs side, that are interesting. What if Osman gets the start and goes back to his 34 minutes at near minimum when we're looking for value? Matthew Dellavedova has been playing 20 minutes. If that goes up to 30, 25, 26 even, Dellavedova's firmly in play at 3,400. And on the Jazz side, it's the normal guys, Gobert, Mitchell, Conley, and then the wild card, which is Jordan Clarkson. So I love this game for DFS. I love that the Jazz are winless against the spread because if this game stays close, I think there will be a lot of fantasy goodness. The Cavs play slow and yet still give up the most points to the point guard of any team in the NBA. So you know how bad they can be defensively at times. I'm going to jump into chat real quick before I share my FanDuel lineups. I'm just going to take a quick look and see what I have to catch up on. Let's see. I'm glad to hear about the RotoQL app helping. Do I think the Spurs are less owned than the Memphis guys? Depends on which guys you're talking about. I don't think Ja gets the ownership that he should, and I think that DeRozan ends up heavy chalk. I'll put it that way. I am very upset about this Spurs situation, and avoid is not the right word because we might need somebody, but we all saw what happened before. I mean, maybe it's just DeRozan and even Gay. There's a lot of variance with him, at high ownership. So I'm not excited about any of it. I do feel fine about DeRozan just because the usage should be fine. His prices are reasonable. He's small forward eligible on DraftKings. All the things that make him a good play, but do you need to go there? No, you got Kevin Love, who's going to be owned at 7K, who could outscore him. You've got, quite a few guys in that range that could outscore him. Ja Morant could outscore him at 7,200 at much lower ownership. So just think about it like that. But you could also play them with him and then maybe forgo some of the high spend-ups and play a little bit more of a middling lineup tonight. Winning GPP, JT Grizzle. Sorry about that. I can sometimes sound harsh. I am trying to make you guys better, so in order to do that, I've always been told just to be really direct, and that's the way I try to do it. I'm a nice guy, but I'm also going to be harsh with the way that I convey that information, so sorry about that. But winning a GPP, I think you're probably asking for a little too much from that game unless you're running it back with somebody from Indiana. Curry is also questionable, so see you take on it. Maybe the Bulls stay in this one since it's at home. I think the Bulls do stay in that one. I'm into that game. I don't know if they're going to win the game. I just think it's going to be more competitive. Dallas has been pretty bad for the most part. They've had a few good games, but like they've been pretty bad over the last last month or so. So that's sort of mine. I appreciate you seeing my take on it though, Abrasive, because I want to make sure like I'm not sitting here just to criticize for the sake of criticizing. I'm trying to tell you what I think is the best thing to do, and go from there. Also, you guys, what's the best time for us to do these live shows for you guys? So everybody write that in chat if you don't mind. While you're doing that, write that in chat. Please give us a like and the thumbs up. It means a lot to us. And let us know what the best time is for these shows, because we're still trying to find our rhythm. We're going to get a regular one done every day. We just don't know what the best times are for you. I'm going to jump back into the end. Oh, no, before I jump back into the NBA, I did promise to bring my FanDuel lineups to the forefront, and let me do so. So I built only a number of them, and you can see they're basically just pivots off of each other. Let me get the screen right first. Okay, so basically we've got both of them together. Lyles in that one. I like Lyles better on FanDuel than I do on DK, but I'm not like loving it. I do love the Wendell Carter play at center. I think it's a terrific tournament play. I hope not too many people get on it, but it allows you to go Luka, Harden, Giannis, without giving up much, because I love Satoransky tonight with no Levine. Again, you get a little run back with Doncic, and then I love Herter. Ideally, I would love to play a Nick with Harden. I think you could play Peyton, you could play Randall, especially here on FanDuel, but that's just not the route that I went personally. And I think Jay Crowder as the lower owned between the two of he and Rudy Gay on FanDuel is the much better play personally. May not work out every time, but just want to point out, since Crowder has been a part of Miami, and sure, there's been some guys missing in some games, his downside game has been 19, and he's put up as high as 43, and he's put up, he's averaging what, 28? He's 4,200. There we go. Enough of a reason to play him. Competitive game against Milwaukee. Going to need him on the court. Going to play minutes. Let's get us some Jay Crowder tonight. I actually like him on DraftKings even when no one's going to play him because he's 5K, but you can certainly get him for a more reasonable thing over here on FanDuel. Let me clear this out for you guys. Sorry about that. For some reason, on this part of my computer, let me just get this out of here. Why can't I shrink this up? All right, I'm going to go to something else then real quick. We are going to get a really quick glance at my Stake Kings. I'm sorry, at my DraftKings lineups. Not my Stake. They're all my Stake Kings lineups, I guess. But rant where you on DraftKings you won't. You won't get ownership on Sexton where on FanDuel you will. All that kind of stuff. I just think it's worth pointing out because it does make me sort of want to go, okay, well, I don't know. I don't think it's really that much of a difference, these $500 price differences. And when the ownership is like, between 5% on one side and 35% on the other side, just give up the 500 and take him where he's lower owned. It's just a smart overall tournament strategy to go for. All right, taking a quick look at you guys. I got some answers. 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Take down the competition. I like it. 4:30 Eastern time from K9 Bronco. That's sort of where I'm leaning. I like that one. It seems like a sort of a sweet spot for us. Maybe 4:30 Eastern time for us. Again, leaving my FanDuel lineups for way longer than I meant to over here. My screen froze over there. So that's what's going to happen. You guys are going to see a little more of my FanDuel lineups. I'll have to drag other things over them in order to get it to work out. I'm going to go back to some BetQL stuff, but I just need to open it up real quick again and get it to cover my FanDuel build. All right. Here we are. I'm going to make this our screen. Okay. So a couple other things about BetQL, a couple other trends. The Hawks, by the way, 8-2-1 against the spread over their last 11 home games. So here's my wild card take on this game. What if I like the Hawks in this game. I like the Hawks to win pretty handily. I want to like the under, but it's really hard to bring myself to say those words when the Hawks and Grizzlies are playing. But I sort of like the Hawks to win this game. And I think I would give the 2 points. That's just what I wanted to point out. Again, Hawks 8-2-1 against the spread on their last 11 home games. I don't want to get into all the Grizzlies trends because I don't have them all right in front of me. But it's been pretty much a steep downhill climb for them, and I think New Orleans overtakes them in the 8th spot. I love Ja in general and tonight. I love Trey tonight, but I think the Hawks win that game, and I think that's a really good sports bet. And again, you get that. We all knew the Hawks were playing well. We know the Grizzlies aren't playing well, but to get the actual 8-2-1 against the spread in their last 11 home games, a little good piece of information we have over there. Again, guys, if you're here, please give us the like, the thumbs up. Make sure to get in the chat and tell us what time exactly you'd love to see everything. Let's see. We got a question. We got something here from Matt Null. Matt, don't play much NBA, but with MLB, would love to get your daily thoughts around 3 Eastern. Hey, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. We will absolutely be planning on doing MLB. Guys, other people, we want to hear your thoughts on what time's best for you. Again, like, subscribe, all the good things like that. In the meantime, I'm going to go back real quick to show you one other thing from the FanDuel builds that I think is important. I wish I could give away all the information over here on BetQL because it really is a great bit of information. I just don't have the ability. I'm not allowed to do so. For good reason. I just wanted to point that out again because it's a little harder driving a show from a page where we can only show you one thing because I really, I do want to point out that we're now up to 2.5 stars on this game. Is that right? Oh, no. Sorry. I was reading something wrong. But it would be nice to show you every game and go through each of them. And again, maybe, one day we'll have a premium show if you are a member. Again, betql.co, BobbyFi code, 30% off your first month. Again, you would have made 12 times your money since the All-Star break if you were betting the 3, 4, and 5-star games without even looking. JD Love says 5 to 6. All right, that's an interesting one. Not one we're going to hear very often, I didn't think, because of you're sort of running into some of the other big shows out there. We got another one at 5:30 Eastern. These guys want us to try and take down the competition. All right, I like it. Will we get any chance to any content behind the paywall for DFS on RotoQL? I've given you some already. I've already told you guys some. I'm not going to show the screen, but I'll just mention a few guys like who I'm not necessarily interested in, but who stand out as being a little bit better values over here on RotoQL than you will see other places in the industry. And those guys would be Denzel Valentine, Kobe White, Ante Zizic, Jonas Valanciunas. These guys some of them are popular elsewhere. Kyle Anderson, just a little more popular on RotoQL. So that's a few pieces of information. Another guy RotoQL has as good value in the more middle range that I like quite a bit is Kevin Porter Jr. And I don't think he's, I'm going to be shocking anyone with that play, but I do like him quite a bit. I do feel like all the sites have sort of underestimated these some of these Cavs, and it looks like my backdrop's about to fall over. And I just think that the Cavs are a great way to look for GPPs. And like Kevin Love is actually popping on RotoQL now. So that's another little piece I'll give you from behind the paywall over here. And again, hopefully someday we'll be able to get more, but that's where. See, the problem with Maxi Kleber, Jack Koff, I like the idea of running Kleber out there until you see you also have got, what's his name coming back tonight? The center, Willie Cauley-Stein. So Kleber not as great of a play as he's been in these spots before because of that, but still definitely in play. I love Kleber. I always like to play him on FanDuel because you never know when he's going to get like 3 blocks and 3 steals, and basically all that he needs to do is get his 10 points for you and you're good. But I don't think you need to go there on FanDuel today, and I definitely don't think you need to go there on DraftKings, but he's a better play on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys. All right, guys, I'm going to have to get out of here in just 2 minutes, so let's get some last questions in. Let's get some final thoughts on the slate. Tell me why I'm an idiot. Tell me what we should be doing wrong. Again, tell me what time you want us to do the show. And really appreciate those of you guys who really are like interacting with us on a daily basis. And these are going to be things where we expect at least a few hundred people at a time, probably a couple hundred people at a time down the road. Similar to the shows you might see on RG or Osimo. I expect we'll have that. So in the meantime, let's make sure we can get this going as much as possible because you guys are getting the very small bit of people who are getting that information for free. And honestly, I think that getting my actual lineups is a really valuable thing, especially because since I've joined the BetQL folk, I've been doing great overall DFS-wise, and it's been a really, really good NBA season so far. So that's where I'm at. Get some questions in chat. I'm going to leave you guys a minute to do so, and I'm going to sit over here and basically just wait for a minute and see if you guys can get a few questions in chat in the meantime. Drop the like. Oh yeah, give us the like, the thumbs up. I forgot. Sorry about Barisa. Yeah, come on guys, get it together. Let's get that like going. Anyway, guys, really appreciate you guys. Oh, favorite Knicks big tonight would be Randall. They all scare me. I love Robinson and the idea of what he could do in this game, but I think that I would just stick with Julius Randle just because I don't know if I don't know how to work with him on the court. Like, who does he guard? He's going to be guarding out at the three-point line anyway. I mean, we saw what happened with Rudy Gobert. He had 6 rebounds against this team. Just think about that. So a little bit tricky. Tricky. We got my FanDuel. Where are my FanDuel lineups go? Now I actually have all these screens open that I actually have lost my FanDuel lineups. But yeah, you can see that it's a good slate. Obviously, we're still waiting on information that we probably don't know about yet. But for where I'm at, hopefully you guys getting to see my lineups. I'm really quickly going to show my DraftKings one more time just before we get out of here. And we are going to get out of here. I've got a phone call to get to. But guys, give us some questions. I'll leave the chat open for a minute. And I think we're going to be out of here. So I appreciate you all. Give us the like, the thumbs up, and tell us what we're doing wrong, right, what we can do to make a better show, a worse show. We're here for the people. So let us know what you need and what you want, and we will do the best we can. In the meantime, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you shortly. We'll see you at the top of leaderboards, guys.